Okay, guys, here's the deal. I'm exhausted. So I had my... I always say I'm not going to do this, and I do it almost every time, but I had my end of writing, editing crunch, and I decided there was something missing from the book, so I had to really add some in and do some things. And so I went 36 hours without sleep while I finished up. And one of my editors was like, yeah, I could tell. I was like, well, what can I say? For those who are aware, the Christmas Lights collection that we do every year, it's been 8 years now. This is the 8th. Whew. Cathe and I have been in every one. Tony Shiloh was in most until last year. She missed the first year, and she missed last year, and now this year. We've had Carrie Trumpo and can't remember who all, but then Jaycee Weaver joined us a few years back. I mean, I think this is year 4 for her, maybe 5. I think it's year 4. I think it's year 4 for her. And this year we have Teresa Tysinger. And so we've got books that, obviously Jaycee Weaver, hers are always in New Mexico, and it's something about mistletoe. I should get that so that I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, let's do that. Hold on. If this were last week, I could tell you. But my brain is fried. I'm trying to remember what Cathe's is even about. And we brainstormed it together. Amazon, so that I can read the synopsis and remember what I'm supposed to be talking. Ooh. Silenced Night. Remind me about Silenced Night, because that fills something that we're going to do here in a bit. I didn't think of that. And it's so perfect because it's just, oh, that's cool. Anyway, just skipping that, moving along. Okay, so Jaycee Weaver's is Can't Fight the Mistletoe. And her character runs like a retirement community, and an octogenarian couple. Neville's hungry. He wants his paws again. An octogenarian couple decide to get married. And so that's the theme of the whole collection. 2 years ago, we started doing themes to it before everybody just did their own thing. And we did military, kind of a salute to the military, if you will. And that was really fun. And so last year we did destination Christmases. And that was really fun. And that actually sparked this year's book, which I'll get to in a minute. But so that's Jaycee Weaver's. And then Teresa Tysinger did Last Mountain Christmas. And in that one, I remember this. In that one, it takes place in like the Blue Ridge Mountains, where most of her books take place. But in that one, sorry, I keep running my foot on the floor. And I'm not going to stop. And I'm not taking off my slippers because it's cold. And yeah, because it's cold. So, what was I talking about? Oh, Teresa's book. Yes, I are distractible. So hers, they like these two families have shared this cabin for years, and this year this is going to be the last Christmas they spend there because they're going to sell it. And there's obviously all the romance and stuff that comes with that. Cathe's, oh yeah, duh. As soon as I saw the title, I was like, yes, I remember all about Cathe's. Okay, so Cathe's is hashtag Hitched at Christmas. And she has this wannabe social influencer who was a teacher and I don't know if she got fired or if she just got laid off. I don't know, but she no longer is a teacher. And so she wants to be this social influencer. So they're trying to like revitalize this ghosty, not ghosty in the true ghost sense, but in their town is dying. It's an old mining town is dying in Montana. It's not dying. It's in Montana and dying. That was very poorly worded. I are a writer because I writes. Yes. But so her aunt gets her to come from Seattle. So big city girl, right? From Seattle, and try to help promote this new convention center they built and everything to try to get this done. And they do it with this really over the top rodeo princess, everything that can be a Western cliche thing, wedding. And then there's a sheriff in town his name is like Wyatt West or something like that. It's really great. But he's like, he loves his town and he doesn't want it mocked. and all the sparks ensue. So hers is definitely much more rom-commy, and I think she's still a little traumatized. I kept getting messages. She's like, I put in another kiss. I just think I love Cathe. She gets me. I get her. Apparently this is a much more swoony, kissy book than usual. Pepper Passion would be proud. And then, so last year in Destination Christmas, I had a guy who never takes his vacation days, and now they're shutting down his plant where they make aftermarket parts, which is totally irrelevant. I don't know why I'm bothering to tell you, but there you go, in case you want to know it. Car parts. So they're shutting down. So his boss is making him take all the unused vacation days. So he's got this month that he has to spend somewhere. And his friend has found someone on a dating site in New Cheltenham, which is like my little, if you know California and you know Solvang, then you know kind of the feel. That's like a little Danish village in California. Well, this is like a little English village in the Midwest. So it's all tourist. They don't even allow cars in the streets. And so she sends him there to the lodge that's there, hoping that he will meet this gal and things will happen. And so at the end of that book, I got, she gets this letter saying, hey, what are you doing next Christmas? Because I'm hoping that we will be having a wedding. So this year's book, we get her story. So we get her story. She shows up and spends time in New Cheltenham helping them with the wedding and all that goes there. I had so much fun with this book, guys. I can't tell you. It's one of those things where I want to say, just don't even know. I am unable to can. I'm just saying. But I don't want to say that I've had more fun writing this book than I have in a long time, because that's not fair. I'm having a blast with Clock Tower Bound. I had a blast writing the Tidal Wave. So, I've been writing and I've been enjoying it, but this is it just feels different. And I'm almost wondering if it's like not further proof that the burnout is pretty much behind me. And the burnout wasn't caused by the writing per se. I'm just putting that out there. We had a lot happen really fast and I never got to catch my breath, and I got so far behind, I could never catch up. And overwhelm is like my nemesis. I shut down, and when I had so much overwhelm, it turned into burnout. So, so in that sense, yeah, maybe I enjoyed it more, but it's more that it's like I've got the old enjoyment back. And I was feeling that while I was writing Clock Tower Bound, which I get to go back to finally. It's like, yes, because that comes out December 6th. We have a date. I hated that we had to push it back so far, but I'm glad I did, because then I've got the right book and I'm going to give it what it deserves. So that's good. But so yeah, that came out, but I had to get all that stuff done. So I'm still a little groggy. There was a lot of things I wanted to do. I had some ideas that I wanted to do, and I just couldn't get to it today because I was just so groggy. But then it was like, I already had to skip Thursday's video. I knew I was pushing it back to Friday, but what I wanted to do, this is a long introduction for what hasn't even started yet, right? But what I wanted to do was kind of curate a November book list. I was going to take these, pick one of these cards, create a nonfiction November-y TBR-ishness, even if it was like two separate lists, depending on what I ended up with, have one nonfiction and one regular. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wanted to do it. But I remember in the video, I think it's Read Journal Love, or Read Love Journal, or Love Journal Reading. I don't know. I can't remember her name, and I'm not going to go look it up again because that'll take even longer. But she was mentioning they were doing a Christian nonfiction November kind of challenge thing. And so I wanted to wait till Friday so that I could get that before I did that. So I was like, no, okay, I can't do that. I didn't know what I was going to do because the ideas that I have just aren't right for right now. I've got my vlog from Indiana. I really want to push that a little closer to Thanksgiving. I thought about, talking about some of the books that I've written for Christmas because that sounds like fun. And I was like, I don't care. But then I started looking for book tags. I found great ones for November, but they were all kind of Thanksgiving oriented. And that was fun, but it's a little too early for that. It's just a little too early. So I was like, what do I do? Then I remembered all the Bookish Holidays. And every month has, like, you know, lots. And so I was like, that's it. So I found November's. I've created my own. Let me see if I can pull it out. I got it stacked. I put some books on top of it, which was not smart. So I created my own prompts from the Bookish Holiday to create kind of a taggy thing for November. And I'm really tempted to do this kind of quarterly-ish. I don't know, because this was fun. Not just, you know, you look at the Bookish Holidays, that was fun. There's so many. And so I just kind of created prompts from the holiday. And I think there's one definitely that I cheated on my answer. But, you know, I just didn't know what to do. So these are the holidays for November. I will put them down in the description, and I hope that you will put your answers in, because maybe you'll give me something that I will know. And if you want to call it a tag and consider yourself tagged. Why not? We live once. And, you know, why not? So the first one on November 1st, it is National Authors Day and National Family Literacy Day. So for National Authors Day, I just did, what was your favorite author? And this is where I cheated. Guys, that's like asking who your favorite child is. I mean, what author gave me chocolate today? Because that's my favorite author today. Work with me here, because I joke that that's who my favorite kid is. You know, who brought me chocolate? That you're my favorite kid. Or, you know, who did the dishes? Well, that's clearly my favorite child. And so it's just weird. I'm weird. We know this. This doesn't surprise anyone. So then I was like, today. So I pulled my stack of in process-ish books down. You want to see something fun? I have New Cheltenham here. This is my map for myself of this town I'm talking about. This is part of it. I don't even know if it'll show up because it's in pencil. But, and then I have a list of businesses. And then I haven't even started doing all of this street set yet. But yeah, it's kind of fun. Kind of fun. Woot. So anyway, since it was there, I figured why not show you. Okay, so the ones that I'm in the middle-ish of, I haven't started this one, but it's supposed to be started. I was going to start it. You can see I've already put the bookmark at chapter 5. So because I put the bookmark, I'm counting it. But since I haven't read a word, this can't be my favorite unless I hate these. I don't hate all of these. So I'm putting this back because this can't be my favorite. This one, I have not even put the bookmark in yet, so I can't count that either. So that one's gone. So that leaves us with Towers in the Mist by Googe. Googe is definitely a favorite author of mine. Or Hero Debut by Angela Ruth Strong, who is also a beloved author of mine. So it should be really hard to choose. But remember I said I was doing it from the ones I am reading. And I've been at that place for a long time in this one. So it's really an easy answer. Today, right now, this minute, my favorite author from my stack that I'm reading is Angela Ruth Strong, Hero Debut. This is the best of rom-com because it is really funny. It is so funny. But there's such rich depth. So there's a place in this where she's talking about, I should just hold it. She's talking about guns. He's showing her how to shoot. She's like doing this police academy. Neville, really? Hey, Neville. You need to stop. You're just hurting my ears just listening to you. It hurts. I know. You're gonna lick my arm, really? You have been keeping bad company with Toothless. Neville doesn't lick me. Toothless, on the other hand, licks if you look at him. So anyway, so he's teaching her how to shoot. And in doing so, he shows her some of the guns he's restoring. And one of them doesn't have a trigger guard. It's from the Civil War era. There were no trigger guards on this rifle. And so she pictures it as the trigger is like anger. And without that guard around it, it's really easy to blow up. And she had this really wonderful analogy in here. And it's, my brain is still like processing. See, I said it right when I try to say how I said it wrong. But, you know, I'm still processing what I read. But it's so good. It's got lots of depth and richness to the faith, to the people, to the... And the faith is, it's not that it's not in there, because that's not true. But it is pretty subtle. And this is a Kriegel, which usually isn't subtle. And Angela isn't always subtle. But it is in this one so far. And I think it's because of where these characters are. And I'm liking what she's doing with it, because it makes it feel really, really good. It makes it feel authentic. Yeah, I'm really loving it. And there's going to be a third one, fiance finale. So I'm looking forward to it. I liked Husband Auditions. It was really funny. And now we have this one. So all that, and we're only at question 1. Who's your favorite author? And then what was a favorite book in your family for Family Literacy Day? So I went with the first kind of author I could think of that I remembered everyone liking. And I couldn't find any of our copies. So our kids really loved Amelia Bedelia. They loved those books in particular. And so I would have gone with that. They also liked Madeline. And I almost pulled in Madeline, but then I ran across I Like to Be Little by Charlotte Zoloto. And we loved this one and over. And it's like When I Am Grown Up or something like that. She does a really good job of writing books that encourage kids to enjoy life and embrace every little bit of it. And it's wonderful. All the little things. I can sit and do nothing. Grown-ups never sit and do nothing. They're too busy, said her mother. I like to sit and do nothing. I like to be little. And it goes through the whole thing, and then it gets to the end, and the mom says, one thing that I get to do that you don't get to do when you're little. It's like when you're big, you get to have a little girl like you and get to live it all over again. So it's just a really sweet little story, but that's how her books kind of are. And so that's why I thought of her. Favorite? I don't know, but close enough. And then what fictional guardian, godfather, or godmother is your favorite? Because it is Sirius Black's birthday on the 3rd. Harry Potter, Sirius Black. So he's Harry's godfather / guardian, technically, legally speaking, if you will. So because of that, I went with guardian, godfather. And there was a few that I think it was really on my mind, because in that book that I just published that we just got out, it's called Merry Christmas. I didn't tell anybody that, but it's called Merry Christmas. So it's not, in that one we have an uncle becoming a guardian, so there's that. But that made me think of, and it's kind of an unconventional answer to this. I thought about a lot of different guardians and whatever, and I there's quite a few that I do like, but then I remembered, and you guys are going to get sick of me talking about them, but Narnia. And by guardian, I mean the professor. Because, yeah, he was pretty cool. So I chose for your favorite fictional godfather, guardian, godmother, or whatever. I chose the professor, even though he's not technically a guardian. He's a temporary guardian for these kids. And yeah, so that was my answer for that one. And then the next day is the first Saturday of November, which is the 4th this year. That changes. It is Book Lovers Day. So I was like, what book would you just love to read all day, any day? Whatever book you could just pick up, the one book you could pick up any day and just read it all day because you just loved it. And I thought about, this was hard. There were so many. And then I promise, guys, I did not do this because of the month I'm in right now, or because I'm trying to be self-promotional with the whole Antober thing. But I decided that, yeah, Anne of Green Gables, there's a lot of different things in here. It's always very cozy. I can read this book literally anytime and not get tired of it. And this is actually the very first one I ever read. It's the one that we bought when I got back from the birthing center with number 3 daughter. So yeah, it's a little battered, as you can see. It's been through a lot of kids, but yeah, I decided that this really is the answer. That, I mean, because I thought about The Harvester, but I think there are times that wouldn't be it. And I thought about The Tree Grows in Brooklyn, but there are times that wouldn't work. But I cannot imagine ever picking this book up and not being interested. Another author that does that for me would be Stevenson, D.E. Stevenson. So, you know, it could be Stevenson, but I'm going to say Anne of Green Gables, actually any of the books, except for Anne of Windy Poplars. I do need to be, or can't remember. There's another title for it. But that one, I do need to be in the mood for. And it's not that I'm rarely in the mood. That's not true. But there are times that I wouldn't be. So I guess that's more like what it is. But there's that one. And then day 6 is National Nonfiction Day. What nonfiction book do you wish more people would read? I'm going to say the Bible. It feels like it should be a cop-out because, let's face it, it's the answer to your favorite book as a Christian usually anyway. But really, if I could have one nonfiction book, just one, that I could get everyone to read, it would be that one. You know, my brain originally was going like, well, maybe Adorning the Dark, or maybe Benjamin Franklin's biography, or, you know, something by Nancy Lee DeMoss or Jen Wilkins, Women of the Word. That's a really good book. And so I was thinking about that, kind of like, no, just stick with the Bible. So I'm gonna do the Bible. Okay, so November 8th is Bram Stoker's birthday. And Bram Stoker's the one who wrote Dracula. And instead of, I started to do, well, you know, what book is like Dracula, or maybe what vampire book do you like, or what, you know, that kind. My brain went to all kinds of stuff, and I was thinking about like Mimi Matthews' John Eyre. That's a really interesting kind of mashup of Jane Eyre, but as a guy, and then you throw in the Dracula stuff as well. And it was I was like, but I was like, no. Instead, what I did is I went with, what book just sucked the joy out of reading for you? And there have been a couple of Googes. Child from the Sea would definitely fit in there. And so that's why I haven't DNF'd Towers in the Mist, because it hasn't sucked the joy of reading from me. I'm just not dying to get into it all the time. And then when I am, I'm really loving it. So it's a bipolar book. It has just needs a little rest. But I was like, what's just sucked the, and then I remembered, I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced because I hear it both ways, but either Fantasies or Fantasties by George MacDonald. Yeah. I was so bored. I was beyond bored with that book. So it's like How Green Was My Valley. There's another one. Grapes of Wrath. Yawn City. Just not interested. So, and then the 10th of November is Neil Gaiman's birthday. And I totally did a self-serving question for this one. In your opinion, what is Neil Gaiman's best book? And my answer is, I don't know. I've never read one. So, what book of his should I read? What's his best one? Which one are you like, Shatona, you will like this book? Please tell me, because I don't have an answer for this. I can't even tell you the name of one of his books. I know some. There's something about a graveyard, I know. Maybe it's called The Graveyard Book. Is it? Did I get one? I think I got one. Anyway, so there's that. All right, then the 12th is National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day. I just noticed that there's another birthday on here, but I don't know who this guy. And Neville, what are you doing? He's like getting under my blanket. It's just so funny. There's another guy's birthday. I've never heard of him, so I'm not even going to bring him into it. No. So we're going to stick with National Chicken Soup for the Soul Day, November 12th, and it's name a feel-good book you could read anytime. Love to read all day, definitely Anne of Green Gables. I thought I got this wrong. But then, because these are pretty similar questions, and if I had been paying closer attention, I wouldn't have done this. But Chicken Soup for the Soul Day, you know, that book that just, when you just really want a feel-good book. So I decided on, and it really could be any of hers, Josephine Lawrence. She writes really, well, I don't think she writes anymore. This is Couples in Leon, I think from the 30s. Couples in Leon published great children's books. They were wholesome without being blecky. 1922. They were wholesome without being blecky, you know, without being preachy or pietistic or whatever. They're just sweet, wonderful stories. I don't remember disliking any Couples in Leon published book that I've ever had. But she wrote Rosemary and the Princess, Rainbow Hill, The Berry Patch, Christine, Next Door Neighbors, Glenna. I'm missing a couple, I think. Winds in the West, I think. Where's that? Cornelia Meggs. That might be Cornelia Meggs. But she wrote several books. I wonder if there's a Nobody's Girl. I have that one, but that's not by her. Jane Allen College series. Nope. So, uh-oh. Oh, guys. Oh, this poor book. I did not notice, but we have a problem. I'm going to have to do some repairs. Okay. That just broke my heart. This book has been read a lot by my kids, and it's from 1922. So it's in really tight condition aside from that. And so I shouldn't be complaining, but I'm like, so I'm going to have to get me some new end papers and glue it back together, because that's the right way to do it. Don't glue this to the spine. Just don't. Glue new end papers. Yes, that's what we do. All right. So, but yeah, Rosemary, I could read any of these anytime, you know, just to kind of, if I'm sick, this is a great go-to book. Just really a sweet, wonderful, yeah. So I'm going with that. And I'm glad I pulled that out, because I did not know that it had split. I need to repair that. Okay. And then, okay, so Robert Louis Stevenson's birthday. Robert Louis Stevenson wrote, he's also like an uncle, I think, to D.E. Stevenson. I think he was her uncle. So there's that. But he wrote both like Treasure Island and Kidnapped, so novels, but he also wrote poems. And so I was like, Robert Louis and Stevenson, novels or poems? Which are your favorites? And so I pulled out, I like both by him. I do have to admit that. But I think it's at the bottom here. Of course it is. I should have been a little more careful about my order here, but I wasn't. But I'm definitely going to go for poems. And I love the Tasha Tudor illustrated. Let's see if I can find a couple of my favorites. Just look how pretty. Just, all right. Bed in Summer. And Young Night Thought. Whole Duty of Children. I remember the first time I read it, I laughed. Whole Duty of Children. A child should always say what's true and speak when he is spoken to, and behave mannerly at the table, at least as far as he is able. I love him so much. But he wrote a lot of poems that like told stories. And that's the kind of poetry I love the most. And look, it's pretty cool. So, Yeah, I love Stevenson. There's a few that everybody knows. Whenever Auntie moves around, her dresses make a curious sound. They trail behind her upon the floor and tremble after through the door. Oh, the land of counterpane. Oh, what I love about him is he was such a sickly guy. And he spent that time just doing, writing about things and my shadow and just making use of it, if you will. And I don't know. Oh, the lamplighter. I forgot about this poem. My tea is nearly ready, and the sun has left the sky. It's time to take the window to see Leary going by. For every night at tea time and before you take your seat, with lantern and with ladder, he comes posting up the street. Now Tom would be a driver and Maria go to sea, and my papa's a banker as rich as he can be, but when I am stronger and can choose what I'm to do, oh, Leary, I'll go around at night and light the lamps with you. For we are lucky with a lamp before the door, and Leary stops to light it as he lights so many more, and oh, before you hurry by with ladder and with light, oh, Leary, see a child and nod at him tonight. And now I'm like, he made the night a little brighter wherever he would go. Yeah. I'm going to be singing that song all night now. This is what I get. I should not have let myself do that. Okay, so definitely for me, it's definitely his poems, but I do love Kidnapped in Treasure Island. Did he write any other novels? Those are the only two I can think of right now. Anywho, the third full week of November is National Young Readers Week. And so I asked myself, what is your favorite children's book? This was like next to impossible. But I went ahead and went with the first one that I found that I loved, that I just started flipping through, and the one that made me go, oh, that's the one I pulled off the shelf because that's my favorite for today. So that would be The Scrap Doll by, I think, Liz Rosenberg. Yeah, by Liz Rosenberg. This is a super cute story. Why? Because why? We have plowed through several copies of this with my kids. They loved it so much that we beat it up and spat it out. And but in this one, so there's this doll on TV that she wants, and she talks to her mom, and her mom's like, we can't afford it. And so her mom goes and gets the doll out that her dad gave her, and the doll is pretty pathetic. It's all scraggly and falling apart, but she doesn't want it. But finally, she is like, well, maybe if I gave it some prettier eyes. So she paints some prettier eyes. And then she goes into her craft thing and she gets some yellow yarn out. And then she, puts new hair on it. Hair's all gone. Then she makes it some clothes. And then she puts it on the shelf. And she calls it done, right? But she doesn't belong over there anymore. She looks, I think she said something about she looked like she was all alone at a party. Yeah. She looked like a little girl all alone at a party. So she gets her and she brings her to bed and takes her to breakfast the next morning. And, now she has her doll. And it's just this really sweet story. I love it so much. So, and that was definitely a favorite among my kids because how many of those did we go through? I have no doubt that we had at least 3 of them fall apart. I'm just saying. And then, okay. Also, it is National Book Award Week. And so I said, what book doesn't get enough accolades? And I don't remember what I was going to do for this. I think I was supposed to get the book when I came in here. I don't know. And I could stop now and just say, oh, well, and make it happen. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say, I don't know. Because like I really loved Mrs. Kipp and I thought that she should definitely get, you know, some awards for what she did with that. And she did. So, yes. And then, was it the Carol Awards? The Christie's. I think the Christie's haven't been announced. So I think it must have been the Carol Award. But so, I mean, if you look at authors that I don't think enough people are aware of, you know, that would definitely, Googe would be one, and Stevenson would be one. Not enough people seem to know about them. There was a book this year that beat out Alana Terry's Out of North Korea as my If You Can Only Read One Christian Fiction. And now I can't even remember what that is. I'm just totally unprepared for that one. Sorry. I'm not, I gotta just finish. So I'm not gonna stop. Whatever. So the 15th of November, because November is NaNoWriMo, and which is National Novel Writing Month. Right. And so for NaNoWriMo, you know, you write a book, basically you write 50,000 words in a month, which is a short book, but it is not a novella. So there's that. I wasn't going to do it. And then tonight I was talking to Denise Barella and I realized that I could make a challenge for myself to dictate a book in November. So now I think I'm going to do it. Weird. It makes no sense, but I'm going to. But so I love to write day on the 15th. I said, what book do you wish you could write? And so it's like, you know, the book that it's not out there and you want it to be out there. And for me, the problem is that I write the ones that I wish I could write. But right now, if I could just start any book right now, this minute, and just write it. See, guys, I have at least 250 books that have a chapter or a synopsis written for, sometimes more. I get an idea and I write it down because I don't want to forget it. So, I mean, there's a lot that I want to write, but I think, so there's a book that I started. I wonder if I can find, I'm so far, I'm calling it Tales of the Ashton. Yeah, that's from 2014. See, I started it in 2014. I'm just saying. I am picking my nail to pieces. So, the opening for this is stories that have happy endings often have dismal beginnings. And this is one such tale. And so it starts off just it's kind of, I actually have a prologue. I think it's my only book that has a prologue, and it will probably be the only one that ever has a prologue. But we have this family of, I think they have 5 children. And she names her children after, you know, whatever she's reading at the time. And it goes through, and so these children end up at this college where their dad is revamping the computer systems. And I have to kind of change that a little bit now, because what it was supposed to be back in 2014, it would be way outdated today. So that will have to change. But they keep saying their last name is Ashton, and yet they keep seeing it in places on campus. And then one of them puts his finger in the crack in the wall and disappears, and they're trying to find him. And it's just all about what happens. And it's I want to write this book so bad. So if I could write any book today and just, you know, whatever, it would be Tales from Ashton, because why not? All right. The 18th is High Five a Librarian Day. This one was hard. I went all out librarian. I am not kidding you. I've got 4 books here. Yeah, I got 4 books here on librarians. So first off, the very first librarian I thought of was the one in A Tree Grows in Brooklyn. The Tree Grows in Brooklyn, every Saturday, Francie goes to the library and asks the librarian for a recommendation. And the librarian has, it's either 2 or 3 books that she cycles through to recommend. So every Saturday, Francie reads one of those books. And I found one of them. It's If I Were King by Justin McCarthy. But, is it Justin? Yeah. If I have not read this yet, but I got it because it's one of the ones that librarian recommends. But the reason I went ahead and brought this out was because I was like, you know, this is exactly the kind of librarian we don't want. Librarians who don't actually invest in children and really expand their horizons aren't good librarians. So, but it was the first thing I thought of. So I went ahead and grabbed it. And then I remembered Revenge of the Librarians, the comic. I mean, lots of comics that I got at Drury Lane Books in Grand Marais, Minnesota. And so, like, bedtime reading routine. It's just kind of funny. And so it's really more of a bookish person's comics. There's not very much librarian-ish in it. But I read it to Cathe, like, all the way home. It even comes with, I mean, come on. Super cute. So I thought of that. But I can't find my copy. I think I may have loaned it to my daughter. I'll have to ask. Shalise, do you have my A Place to Hang the Moon? Because there's a librarian in there that is amazing, and I love her. And definitely one of the top librarians ever in a book. And then The Lost Library. The librarian in here is amazing, and I love her. So there's that. Then I remembered there's all these goodies in here that I remember finding last time I opened this up. I got this hardbound copy of this book by Amanda Tarot. It is A Strand of Hope. But if I recall correctly, I could be totally wrong. But no, I'm not wrong, because there are pictures in the back. See, I'm smarter than I look, which is a really good thing. But this is about the horseback librarians. And so it's just a fictionalized story. There's lots of pictures in the back of this thing. Like it says, historical note, Lena's story could have really happened. Kentucky was one of the worst hit states during the Great Depression. Its main source of income, coal mining, had plummeted, leaving families all over the mountainside without employment. Even though the United States had progressed in technology by the 30s, many in the Appalachians had no running water, electricity, or in some places, schools. So, but this is about those horseback librarians. And so I really brought it in mostly to remind me that I haven't read it yet and I want to read it. But there's that. It's one of those weird, odd things. I can't recommend this book because I've read it and loved it. I can recommend it because I know who the author is. I know what she stands for. I know how much work she put into this. I watched her from conception all the way through. She did a special limited edition hardbound that I bought. And I normally wouldn't just buy a hardbound book from just any author just to have a special edition. I bought it because I totally trust her. It even has a map. So I'm looking forward to this will be full of rich faith, which is one of the reasons why I went for it. So there's that. What do we got here? Gotta move along. Okay, so on the 22nd of November is Sylvanus Kettleburn. I want to call him Bum, but I think it's Burn. Kettleburn, yeah. Sylvanus Kettleburn's birthday. Now, let me tell you guys, it could be Sylvanus, whatever. I prefer Sylvanus. But he's a character in Harry Potter who I barely remember reading. I just barely remember the name. So I went, I can't, there's nothing I can do with it. I was not going to go look him up. So instead, I went with find a book with S and K words in the title. Because why not? And I have the Squire, his Knight, and his Lady. So S and K. One of the, oh, this is from the New York Public Library. Ah, cool. One of the Manhattan Reserve Collection. Ooh. It's one of the Gerald Morris Squire's Tales. Love this series. S and K. But when I was, remember I said I remembered A Silenced Night? Well, my silenced, that's ED, Silenced Night. Night is with a K. And it is a Christmas novella that fits with the Alexa Hartfield mysteries. Man ends up killed in his over-decorated front yard. And who done it? Well, they're blaming the wife. So somebody's got to rescue her. And then the 29th is Madeline Langle Camp's birthday. This is my question. If you were going to read one of Langle's books today, which one would it be? And I don't have my copies because they're in my room, but she has a few devotional type books. One of them is A Circle of Quiet. I don't know which one I would read because I want to read them in order. And I don't remember the order, but I'll put it up here and whatever. But that's actually a strong contender for Nonfiction November for me. So I want to read those because those. And then it's also Bill Weasley's birthday. And I couldn't think of a question for this, so I came up with, I'm not kidding you, this is really pathetic, but yeah, if you've read the Harry Potter books, which is your favorite? And I guess if you haven't read them, what title do you like the best? I'm going to say, it's hard. Part of me wants to say the first one, only because it's kind of like introduces you to that whole world. But then there's so much beauty and sacrifice in like the 6th and the 7th. But the 3rd is where they really start doing some cool things. I don't know. I'm going to stick with the 1st. Just why not, right? And then last but not least, I guess it depends on the week, and I don't know which week it is this year, but there is World Nursery Rhyme Week. I always loved nursery rhymes, and I started to do like, which is your favorite nursery rhyme? And then I was like, again, your favorite children, right? So it's like, okay, well, what about your favorite nursery rhyme books? Well, we have Marguerite D'Angeli's book of nursery rhymes and Mother Goose rhymes, because yes, I mean, I love Tasha Tudor and Marguerite D'Angeli's are my favorite children's illustrators. Garth Williams, definitely. It's clear that I have a look at the wee Piper. Tom, he was Piper's son. Anyway, they're just beautiful. I love how respectful authors like Marguerite D'Angeli and Tasha Tudor and Garth Williams and some of those. I love how respectful they are of children's ability to appreciate just really good art. I mean, look at that. So this is definitely one, but the one that we loved reading to them is The Real Mother Goose, and it was a Scholastic book. Yeah. Oh, the bottom's dirty. You can tell that this one got read a lot too, and this was a replacement. And this one still got read a lot. Look how many there are. I mean, there's pages of, but these have a almost, that's almost a Jessie Wilcox Smith look to them. I don't think that's who did this. Let's see if it says who's the illustrator. Blanche Fisher Wright. But like those 1920s Yeah. Jack Sprat could eat no fat. Bandy legs. Yeah. So anyway, that's my November bookish holiday keggish sort of thing. I would love some help with the Neil Gaiman best book. I'd love to know which one of those I should read. I'd love to know what kind of book you wish you could write, you know, the book that you would just love to be able to have, you know. I had that one book that was like a circus in space. Well, do you have a circus in space that you think needs to happen? You know, I would love to know those. And I would really, 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 really love to know more books about librarians. I discovered as I was doing this that there's a lot of books about that I've read about bookstores, not as many with librarians, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So yeah, maybe fictional guardians. I'd like to know more about those. So anyhow, I think now that it's Friday, it's already Friday. Yeah, it's totally Friday. Now that it's Friday, we'll do November TBR next. Now that I can, you know, read that challenge and figure out how to work with everything. So I think that's what's coming next. But, whew, that's a long video. I hope I can trim this. And if I can't, well, I'm so sorry. But, well, you know, you get talking and I'm going to do it again and keep it longer. So, hey, have a great weekend. Read some good books. And yeah, just let me know which ones I need to add to my pile.